Okay, so Brad texted me, said, I'm going to call you today. Okay, great. Well, I had texted him and told him, hey, man, do you think we're going to raise money or what the fuck? And he said that he was going to call me today. He texted me and said, hey, I'll call you today. I'm like, all right, cool. So he calls and I said, hey, how's it going? And he goes, oh, I got JJ Sharp on the phone with us. Oh, okay. This is the guy that he says is the potential investor. So, yeah, they started asking me a bunch of questions about, kind of tell us where we were. They mostly had questions about like the financials, why we weren't on track, for year to date. Well, they're looking at a $9 million pro forma that we gave those guys, but that was once we get investors, right? Like we just put the dates in there, whatever. So I explained that to them. And I also explained to them that, we took COVID, just a big opportunity for us. And we just said, we had already had kind of plans to scale the company in the second quarter. So I just explained to him that we took COVID and the pause and everything as a huge opportunity to really build a team. And they asked me about the numbers, why I didn't think we were on track. Well, then I realized they were talking about $9 million on track. Well, yeah, we're not on track for that because we didn't get investors yet. So I talked to them about that a little bit. And then the investor was concerned that we were at a net zero currently. And a net zero is kind of what I told them I expected for this part of the year, especially since we were scaling. We're building a lot of infrastructure. We're putting together a really solid team. And they talked about, I told them about, getting Angela on board so that we could go start working directly for the clients. And that was going really well. We've closed a lot of deals in just recent months. So our sales cycle is really looking like about a 60 to 90 day thing. And what else did they ask me about? We really talked through. I articulated all the pieces of the industry that we were having to work on, and why we were working on them. Because if we didn't work on them, then the industry wouldn't allow us to deliver the results and the numbers that we're capable of, right?
At scale.
Yeah, and so there's just pieces that have to be fixed in the supply chain, pieces that have to be fixed in training. We really talked a lot about training being, whoever controls recruitment and training and can really bring that average age down and recruit younger technicians is going to win. And we just talked about all the opportunity with Walmart and all the opportunity with taking chunks out of CBRE. And again, they were talking about the net zero, and I explained to them, like, we were expecting to really lose money or break even right now where we're at. So that's kind of like how we talked about it. And I told them at the end of the day, whether it's you, JJ, or whether it's the next investor we talk to, is we've put together a team, and at the end of the day, you're going to be investing in that team's ability to deliver. And I said, so we've spent the last 3 to 6 months really putting together that team. And I said, the one thing I would always ask for in the team, especially if you're going to have to raise money, is the fact that the team knows each other and works well together. And I said, every single person on our team, we've known for a long time. And the ones that I don't know personally have worked with other individuals on the team. And I said, that's kind of where we're at. And I said, I really knew it was important if we were going to scale the company to build the team and get the technology in place to do so. So we've spent the last 3 to 6 months doing that. That's another reason why I asked Brad to switch us to a fiscal year starting July 1. And I said, if we get the right investors on board, that it's very important, that we do have a goal of about 7 to 7.5 million for the fiscal year of 2020, starting July 1, ending in June of 21. And they were like, yeah, okay. And he just kept asking me a lot of great questions. And
they must have been a good conversation. You were on there
45 minutes.
45 minutes, my whole workout.
I was on the call for 45 minutes. And
how did it end? Like
It ended with me telling him that I spent the first 3 to 6 months building a team that an investor would be happy to, that he know he could
and what
invest
was
in.
like the response, follow up, next steps?
Brad's going to put together an email, and then JJ, they just, whatever questions they might have left over, they're going to call about. But he pretty much closed it with the fact that we spent this time building a team. I also told them how important it was to me that the investor understood my personal virtues and understood the core values of the company, because I've seen too many companies tore up by private equity, and VCs don't invest in the service space, and we've built a lot of potential. So that's kind of what I talked to them about. They were talking about like what can you articulate, you know, the improvements that have taken place since we brought the team members on, especially Angela, right? She sells, like what has sales
Brought to the table.
brought to the table since they really started selling.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece of it, right? Like, it's super important to understand that if we hired these people, what have they done?
Oh yeah.
So
Definitely.
effectively, like, we've eroded our entire base by eliminating our clients, right? So we're replacing our base. We're building new work, and we're building the replacement of our base all at the same time.
Yeah.
So we had a $2.5 million base of service work coming into this year, and effectively we've eroded the whole thing starting late last year into this year, and we still put out $1.4 million worth of work till the 20th day of the year. So we've,
Including
for
projects.
base only,
Oh, for base
we've
only.
got almost all of it back, but we haven't done really any projects this year yet because all projects got stopped until this next quarter.
Well, we only did one-offs.
Oh yeah, well, the one-off projects is part of the
Did
base.
like 15 one-offs.
One-offs are part of the base though.
Oh yeah.
So when we talk about projects, that's that one over and
Yeah.
over repeatable
But I
projects,
was talking
not
like
special.
special
Special
projects.
projects falls into the base.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of where we were at. But man, the conversation went really well. The guy was super freaking, asked a lot of good questions. He's all, that makes a lot of sense. Like, he was really, you know what I mean? He was receptive to what I was saying and understood it. So that was good.
I think the most important is that he's going to fit with your vision and the core values.
Yep.
And mission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's good.
So they don't try and bring it in a different direction.
And it's like I told him, I'd rather answer to 1 to 2 individuals, 2 investors, than to answer to, you know, private equity or guys that don't see what we're trying to build. And he asked me about the exit, and I told him, you know, I'd really like to get an investor satisfied within 3 to 5 years. My ultimate goal would be able to get that to an IPO, or if we have to sell, I said I will sell. I said that's not my preference. I made it very clear. It's not my preference to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to sell to satisfy the investors in order to,
But would you sell off a chunk?
well, you sell to satisfy the investor. So
Yeah.
if you got to meet your requirements, right? So sell to satisfy the investor. If I have to rebuild it, so be it. If you rebuild it with $10 million in hand, so fucking
Yeah.
how
Well,
easy
no,
is that?
because I'm just asking, like.
Especially when it's all hot still. You just bring the team, do it again.
Do we want to?
So, but then you got 10 million of your own cash. I mean, that's exactly what Elon Musk did, right? Twice.
Because right now we still have everything under a Better Future, right? We haven't segregated any.
Change it to GFF.
Like training is.
Change it to
we
BFF Inc. Because
Yeah,
that one's,
BFF Inc.
we use BFF Inc., but it's never filed a tax return. It's just a company sitting there in my name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had talked about having everything under BFF Inc.
Inc. as the parent.
But like Better Futures.
But
being
the thing is that we'll
service
build
and-
so much value. And this is one thing that I really talked to them about it in investing was, he said, you know, based on your net zero, if you bring on investors, they're going to look for something like 50% of the company. And I said, I see that. And I said, that's why I've been busy building a team. I said, we don't need you just to pour, you know, $3 million or $6 million into a bank account so we can go burn through it. I said, we will set solid goals for ourselves. And if we take it in 25% chunks or whatever it is, if we're not where you're at in the specified time, then the investor gets more equity. And if we're killing our goals, you keep on investing. But I mean, we want it to be a win-win-win for everybody involved, right? So it's kind of like how that looks, right?
Yeah.
So,
Was Angela on the call with you guys?
no. Brad just called me like he was gonna talk to me and fucking had this guy on the phone, right? They surprised me.
You were like, I think he's gonna say something. I think he's gonna give me bad news or something.
I really did think he was gonna call me with some fucking crazy news. But I only thought that because he called Karen and was like asking her a bunch of questions, and he was trying to figure out like why we were at a fucking net zero. Well, if he paid attention to anything I said, he would fucking know that we were building. He just like, he's got like one toe in, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't like know what's going on.
You should like just sit in on like a week of training
Well, he just ride around with me in a car for a week.
or
I
something.
have a fucking clue what's
But,
going
like,
on.
This is the
Shoot
beginning.
trains and shit.
Yeah.
Never mind.
We shoot at trains on the
He doesn't,
weekends.
Like, grasp the,
Old days.
I think grasp it. I don't find.
Now, some people just don't understand like the appeal of shooting at trains.
Yeah.
Oh, we're still
Anyway,
recording?
JJ's comments about when I said, we'll take chunks and, figure out that we're doing the right thing, we'll show what we're capable of doing,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And he was all, he thought oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's fair. But I'm sure most people are just like, oh yeah, just give us the money. We'll be back. I'm like, we don't need that. Like, we are running it solid. We just need to be able to burn. And I told him like that. We need to be able to burn cash for the remainder of this year to get right pieces in place in order to hit critical mass with technicians. And once we hit critical mass with technicians, it's gonna be hard to stop us.
Game on.
Game on.
Speaking of technicians.